So I'm actually headed back to Washington, D.C. right now for a full week of work and to vote yes to release the Epstein files, the full Epstein files. Let's just say that the avalanche of information that you are seeing right now are not the Epstein files that has come from the Epstein estate. Question: why hasn't Donald Trump already released them? He's been asked to do so. He hasn't complied. Question: why has he gone crazy on Marjorie Taylor Greene and all of his bros and homies who've also been saying now is the time to release the files? Support the survivors. Focus on transparency. Hold this president accountable. Because you know what? He could have released all these files already. He's had the power to do so. He was compelled to do so, and he's hiding. What is he hiding?
President Trump loses a long battle over the Jeffrey Epstein files. Now he wants the Justice Department to investigate Democrats associated with Epstein, even as the president's name appears over and over again in newly released emails. This week starts right now.
This is a hoax put out by the Democrat, and a few Republicans have gone along with it because they're weak and ineffective.
New details in the Jeffrey Epstein case as a House committee releases more than 20,000 pages of documents from Epstein's estate. President Trump is trying hard to fight the release of more Epstein files, but now he says he wants a new investigation.
What did he know with respect to Bill Clinton, with respect to the head of Harvard?
We'll speak exclusively with Republican Congressman Thomas Massie on his battle with Trump over the Epstein files and our roundtable on the political fallout. But we begin with our Mary Bruce and the controversy that engulfed the White House this week over the Jeffrey Epstein files.
This week, the release of thousands of documents from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein sparking renewed questions about the sex offender's relationship with the president.
Jeffrey Epstein and I had a very bad relationship for many years.
And now Trump is trying to shift the focus to Democrats. In an extraordinarily rare move, a president now publicly ordering his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and the FBI to investigate Jeffrey Epstein, but only his relationship with prominent Democrats. Bondi wasting no time complying, appointing U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton, saying the department will pursue this with urgency and integrity. This despite the fact that earlier this year, Bondi herself closed the books on the Epstein case, insisting there's no there there, saying we did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. Some Republicans are pushing back on the president's move.
I don't think it's appropriate for him to do it. I would ask him not to do that because all it does is taint our legal system.
Democrats labeling it a desperate attempt to change the subject.
Will Donald Trump be investigated as part of this? Or is there going to be one set of rules for Donald Trump's friends and supporters and another set for his critics?
Those emails part of some 20,000 documents released by the House Oversight Committee this week, many of which mention Trump. In a 2017 email, Epstein writing, "I have met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump, not one decent cell in his body. So yes, dangerous." Shortly after Trump launched his presidential campaign in 2015, Epstein told at least one reporter that he had dirt on Trump and was willing to share. In a 2018 text to an unidentified person, Epstein writing, "I am the one who is able to take him down." Trump has denied any wrongdoing, but he has refused to release the full FBI files on Epstein, and now a bipartisan group of lawmakers are trying to force him to. Trump, clearly furious, going on a tirade against one of his closest allies, Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of 4 Republicans who joined Democrats to force a vote on releasing the Epstein files. The president calling her Marjorie Traitor Greene, labeling her a lightweight who betrayed the entire Republican Party, and announcing he's withdrawing his support and endorsement of her.
Something happened to her over the last period of a month or two where she changed, I think, politically.
Greene firing back, saying she's long supported the president, but I don't worship or serve Donald Trump. For This Week, Mary Bruce, ABC News, Washington.
And I'm joined now by Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky, who led the effort to release the Epstein files. Congressman Massie, thank you for being here. President Trump fought long and hard to prevent your discharge petition from going through. You won that battle. Now, what happens? How many Republicans in the House follow your lead and defy the president on this?
I think we could have a deluge of Republicans. There could be 100 or more. I'm hoping to get a veto-proof majority on this legislation when it comes up for a vote. And, you know, the president's been saying this is a hoax. He's been saying that for months. Well, he's just now decided to investigate a hoax, if it's a hoax. And I have another concern about these investigations that he's announced. If they have ongoing investigations in certain areas, those documents can't be released. So this might be a big smokescreen, these investigations, to open a bunch of them as a last-ditch effort to prevent the release of the Epstein files.
I mean, it is extraordinary to hear him demand an investigation and only mention Democrats, only mention his political opponents. But you're saying he may not really even want any investigation. He wants to prevent the release. Why does he want to prevent this? What is he afraid of?
You know, I've never said that these files will implicate Donald Trump. And I really don't think that they will. I think he's trying to protect a bunch of rich and powerful friends, billionaires, donors to his campaign, friends in his social circles. And that's my operating theory on why he's trying so hard to keep these files closed.
What do you think is actually in these files? I mean, we've seen so much Epstein material from the criminal cases, the stuff that just came out this week, you know, from the estate. What do you think is left?
Yeah, I don't have to guess at what's in the files. I've talked to the survivors through their lawyer, and we know there are at least 20 people in those files. There are politicians, billionaires, movie producers who are implicated criminally, who haven't been investigated. And it's up to the FBI, not the survivors and the DOJ, to release those names or at least to investigate them. And when I see Donald Trump announce a bunch of investigations, I don't see him going after these rich elites that are implicated in these files, according to the survivors.
The president has gone after you in some deeply personal ways. I mean, attacking you over and over again, even attacking you for, regarding your wedding, your recent wedding, which, by the way, congratulations. What do you make of all that? And he's obviously supporting your primary opponents. I mean, what kind of retribution are you facing?
You know, my wife told me, she said, "I told you so. We should have invited Donald Trump. He's mad that he didn't get an invitation." So we're taking it with a grain of salt. He's being a bully or trying to be a bully. And they're trying to beat me here in Kentucky. But here's what's interesting. The people financing this campaign consist completely of 3 billionaires, and they're all in the Epstein class. In fact, one of them is named in Epstein's phone book. Not the secret files that the FBI is keeping, but in Epstein's phone book. So it's a small world. Dogs don't bark at parked cars, and we are winning. I'm not tired of winning yet, but we are winning. And not only the speaker, but the attorney general, the FBI director, and the president himself and the vice president, they're taking a big loss this week because after months of fighting, I am winning this week with Khanna. We're forcing this vote, and it's going to happen. I would remind my Republican colleagues who are deciding how to vote, Donald Trump can protect you in red districts right now by giving you an endorsement, but in 2030, he's not going to be the president, and you will have voted to protect pedophiles if you don't vote to release these files, and the president can't protect you then. This vote, the record of this vote, will last longer than Donald Trump's presidency.
Now, I've talked to Senate leadership who tell me that this is almost certainly not even going to be brought up for a vote in the Senate. What's your sense on that? I mean, I guess if there's an overwhelming vote, like you said, 100 Republicans join all the Democrats, the pressure will be immense. But do you have any sense the Senate's even going to vote on this?
Well, they don't have the procedural maneuver that Khanna and I used in the House. They don't have that in the Senate. It's called a discharge petition. But the senators do have other ways to force votes, as amendments, for instance, on larger bills in order to let bills move quicker through the chamber. So they could force the vote in spite of the leadership's efforts. I just hope John Thune will do the right thing. Look, our own speaker tried to push this bill by unanimous consent last week within 15 minutes of me getting the 218th vote because he was trying to save people from a vote. If he's ready to pass it by unanimous consent, then the Senate leader should be as well. Just bring it up. But the pressure's going to be there if we get a big vote in the House.
All right, Congressman Thomas Massie, thank you for joining us this morning.
Joining me now, two members of Congress behind the legislative push to release all the Epstein files, Democratic Congressman Raul Khanna and Republican Congressman Thomas Massie. I appreciate both of you being with us. Congressman Massie, what do you make of the president's reversal? How do you see it?
Well, he got tired of us winning, and he decided to join us. Look, they could have done this 4 months ago, and instead they fought us every bit of the way. Now they want to be on our side. We'll accept their support, but we're, a little bit suspicious of this sudden turn of events. So we'll keep an eye on things. We're worried that maybe they'll try to muck it up in the Senate. But I do think we're going to get a straight up or down vote tomorrow on the language that Raul Khanna and I introduced. And I think it's going to be a very big vote. I think we'll get at least a veto-proof majority.
And Congressman Khanna, what do you think is behind the president's decision to change course?
He can do math. I mean, Thomas Massie did a great job. We were working all weekend and had almost 100 Republicans who were going to vote for a bill in defiance of Donald Trump. This is Donald Trump calling in members to the Situation Room to try to get them off the petition, having members of the cabinet try to get them off the petition, threatening to unendorse members, as he did Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene, to get them off the petition. But the survivors are going to be with us tomorrow. This is one of the most horrific, disgusting scandals in American history. Jeffrey Epstein had a rape island where rich and powerful men went and either trafficked in women or raped underage girls. And it's going to shock the conscience when all of this comes out. And it's really a testament to their courage that despite the Speaker shutting down Congress, they persisted, and we're now going to have this successful vote tomorrow.
Congressman Massie, couldn't the president just call up the Justice Department and say, release this? I mean, obviously that would be unconventional, but, he's an unconventional president.
He absolutely could. There's still time to do that. He could save the Senate a lot of work. It takes them forever to do anything in the Senate, and he could just release the files himself. Now, some people have said, well, how will you know that he's released the files? We will know when rich and powerful men are implicated. So they've claimed that they've been releasing thousands, tens of thousands of documents to Congress already, but what we've discovered is there's not a single new name in those documents. We know because we have survivors through their lawyers who've told us that they have names. We know they know who's in those files, and we'll know if he's given us a complete release, whether it's compelled by Congress or whether he does it on his own accord.
Congressman Khanna, are you as confident that whatever the Justice Department releases will be the full files if, in fact, the Senate votes and the president approves it?
Well, it'll only be the full files if people stay vigilant and active. The survivors' lawyers have seen the files. The survivors know what's in the files. The Epstein estate is providing documents, so there are other sources of corroborating the information. And there are career officials in the Justice Department and career officials from previous administrations who have seen those files. So I don't just trust the Trump administration to do it, but if the media stays on it, if people stay on it, and certainly Thomas Massie and I are going to stay on it, then I do think we can get these things out there.
Congressman Massie, is it clear to you why, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, when they were podcasters, were saying one thing, and then when they got in power and in a position to actually see things and release things with the president's approval, they suddenly were singing a different tune? Do you know why?
Well, the vice president and the attorney general made the same about face after they got into office. I have always maintained that it's not because Trump is in these files that he doesn't want them released. I've thought that he's trying to protect rich and powerful friends of his who may not even be partisan. They may be above Republican or Democrat because they're billionaires and they figure they can pay off whatever judge or whatever party's in power. But I wonder why Kash Patel and Dan Bongino had a change of heart. Maybe, and this is what I believe, it's because it implicates our own intelligence agencies and those abroad. Maybe they've been in a skiff and they've heard things and they've decided that this wouldn't be good for national security. But if that's the case, we need to know.
And Congressman Massie, President Trump has been attacking you personally, obviously, on social media. He's supporting your primary opponent. What's your message to him? And why are you so passionate about this?
My message to him, and I've told this to him personally, is if I lose my next election and go back to my farm and raise cattle and peaches, I'll probably have lower blood pressure and a longer life. So I'm going to do what the right thing is to do. And if that means working with people like Khanna, who will do the right thing on his side of the aisle, then so be it. I don't care who I upset up here, as long as people back home are happy with the job. And so far they are.
Congressman Massie, Congressman Khanna, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Democrats can stand up, fight back, be strong, have a spine, make sure that we are using a different playbook in this time where Donald Trump is just trying to destroy the country with his authoritarian moves. We can't use the same tired, bipartisan stories from the past. That's not where we are. We are fighting against an authoritarian who is sending masked men into our streets to kidnap and disappear people. We are fighting against an authoritarian who's illegally cutting off food benefits for the hungry. And we are fighting against an authoritarian who has a Republican cult party that agrees to slash the health care of tens of millions of their own constituents. That's where we are.
You've called the continuing resolution nothing more than an empty promise. You are a member of the House, not the Senate. How would you have wanted this to play out?
Well, what's really clear is that any bipartisan agreement needed to address the real healthcare needs of the American people. The Republicans, in passing the big ugly law, initiated a healthcare crisis and then neglected to address these expiring popular healthcare tax credits in this important funding bill. And I was hoping that my colleagues across the aisle would come to the negotiating table. I've been in Washington every week throughout the shutdown, trying to find a way to engage with them. And unfortunately, they turned their backs on the American people, passed a funding bill that would allow the healthcare costs for working families to skyrocket, increasing 200, sometimes 300% in a way that the American people can't afford. Healthcare is a human right, and everyone deserves to know with confidence that they can see a provider, they can fill a prescription, or even get a procedure when they need one. And unfortunately, this bill does not do that.
In our politics lead right now, lawmakers in the House of Representatives, as you see right there, are taking their last key step required before voting on legislation that would end this historic government shutdown. And maybe this should be breaking news, too. We have discovered that bipartisanship is not dead. It is alive and well. And let's talk about that with Democratic Representative Sam Liccardo and Republican Representative Kevin Kiley, both from California. They just voted. They both represent California, and they are introducing a bipartisan bill to extend these Obamacare premium tax credits for 2 years that has been, for the Democrats at least, part of this debate. Congressman Kiley, is there a sense of urgency among Republicans, or at least enough Republicans, to pass legislation to do something about keeping health care costs affordable for constituents?
I think there is. There's a lot of folks on our side of the aisle who are extremely concerned about the prospect of this massive increase in premiums for a lot of our constituents. And so you've had a number who have come out publicly and said that they want to see some form of temporary relief. And I think that the proposal that Congressman Liccardo and I are offering is a great compromise because it provides this temporary time-limited extension, but it does so in a way that actually has reforms such that we don't increase the deficit in the process.
And just to give an update on what's going on the right side of your screen, folks at home, the rule has passed, and now it is an open for debate. So they're going to be debating this bill, this legislation, for an hour, and then there will be a vote on this legislation. It is expected to pass, although it's narrow. It's a narrow majority the Republicans have. Back to this bipartisan legislation, Congressman Liccardo, walk us through the basic outline of your bill. Who would it affect and how?
Well, Jake, as Kevin described, this would extend the tax credits for 2 years. So the 22 million Americans who would otherwise see their premiums double will at least have those concerns squarely addressed. But it finds savings in a couple of different ways. We borrowed from both Republican and Democratic ideas, a bill from Senator Cassidy in the Senate that would help go at the very high reimbursements that insurance companies are getting from Medicare Advantage. We think a lot of upcoding, an awful lot of studies been done that insurance companies are really gilding the lily from the taxpayers on upcoding. And so getting at those abuses is critical and can save a lot of money. Congressional Budget Office said about $124 billion over 10 years. And then we're going to go after broker fraud as well with the proposal that came from a Democrat colleague, Deborah Ross.
Congressman Kiley, unlike other proposals, you include a plan to pay for this extension by reforming Medicare Advantage by eliminating something called upcoding, which your colleague just referred to. Can you explain more about what that would work and what upcoding is?
Yeah, and importantly, this reform is actually supported by the AARP, and it's estimated that this could save $120+ billion over the course of 10 years. The basic idea is that with Medicare Advantage, the sickness of the patient is what determines the amount that the insurance company gets paid, and there's been a lot of abuse or inaccuracies in this process, such that the patient is initially classified in a way that doesn't reflect their actual diagnosis, and so that means excessive money goes from the public treasury to the insurance companies. So this is also a good answer for those who say they don't like the extension of the premiums because the tax credits, they go directly to the insurers. This sort of balances that out as well. In addition to, as we've been talking about, our other reforms in addition to this make this fully paid for over the course of the 2-year extension.
Congressman Liccardo, one of the talking points we often hear is that insurance premiums are going up because of undocumented immigrants. What is the reality behind that claim?
Well, undocumented immigrants cannot purchase insurance on the ACA exchanges. They never have been able to. They cannot do so now. So that argument is obviously specious with regard to this particular issue. Yes, in some states there are public dollars that undocumented immigrants can take advantage of, but that has nothing to do with the extension of these ACA tax credits.
Congressman Kevin Kiley and Sam Liccardo, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. We're keeping an eye on Capitol Hill, where the House of Representatives is now one step closer.
A World War II veteran is honored for his courageous actions during battle. His nieces and nephews were in St. Paul today when Senator Klobuchar recognized his service with a congressional statement of record. This comes after the Army hero's remains were identified in August. Fox 9's Leon Purvis was there and brings us his legacy.
Just knowing to honor someone after 80 years that finally put it to rest, have a gravesite in New Ulm to bury his remains, it'll be surreal.
That moment, 80 years in the making. Army Captain Willibald Charles Bianchi dedicated his life to protecting this country during World War II. In 1942, Captain Bianchi was deployed to the Philippines and led his men in a fierce battle against enemy forces. He was wounded multiple times, taking 2 bullets in his left hand, wounded in the chest, and still climbed to the top of a tank to fire the anti-aircraft machine gun. His action earned him the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Here is a small-town farm boy from New Ulm who goes on to be a true hero, saved lives in the Philippines, and then, of course, captured as a prisoner of war, makes it through the Bataan Death March, keeps the spirits up of his fellow prisoners of war.
Senator Amy Klobuchar says fellow soldiers credit Bianchi for saving lives in that infamous Death March. Bianchi was a prisoner of war for more than 3 years, but never lost his sense of duty or faith. Tragically, while being transported aboard a Japanese prisoner of war ship, he was killed when it sank in January of 1945. Bianchi was just 29 years old. In honor of his bravery and service to this country, Senator Klobuchar granted his nieces and nephews a congressional statement of the record. It's been a whirlwind for the family after Bianchi's remains were identified in August of this year.
I'm glad that we can carry on with this because a little bit in the past it wasn't as important, and then when this happened of the identification and everything, people kind of said, oh wow, this is really a big deal.
There's no set date on when his remains will return, but his family plans to give him a proper military burial.
Hello everybody, I'm here with some great friends, Ed, Ron, Raymond, good friends of mine from the Disabled American Veterans local chapter here in the Coachella Valley. And I wanted to ask Ron, what's your role in the organization and what services do your organizations provide?
Right now, I am the service officer for Chapter 78, Battles Commander. Our organization, what it does, Congressman, it helps veterans obtain their benefits, and we help the families especially. The families are the ones that don't know that they can get the DIC. They don't know that they're eligible, even going back years and years, that we can get back pay for them. But no one ever tells them. So we're the first line of defense in some cases. Help with the paperwork, and that's important.
And Ed, are there any local needs that would help the organization service more veterans?
We're going to have our chapter service officers process veterans only by using laptops, which we do not have. And we were told already by our organization that we would have to provide our laptops. If we didn't have a laptop, you cannot get your certification. We survive on donations.
So how can somebody get a hold of you or the organization?
Okay, we have a website. It's CoachellaValleyVeterans.com. You can call me at 360-820-5992. Leave me a message. If you don't leave a message, won't call you back.
Incredible men, warriors to this day, still serving our nation, still serving our veterans. I have nothing but the utmost respect and admiration for these gentlemen. Thank you.
After 43 days, the federal government has finally reopened, entering the longest shutdown in U.S. history. Last night, President Donald Trump signed into law a bill to fund the government. The Republican-led House voted to approve the bill to reopen the government with a clean funding extension through January 30, 2026. Congressman Aaron Bean voted to end the shutdown, emphasizing the hardship faced by hardworking Americans who missed paychecks and dealt with disruptions in vital services. And we spoke with the Northeast Florida native who says this legislation supports veterans, farmers, and federal workers. But like other Republicans, he blames Democrats.
It makes you wonder. I sat through 3 hours of debate on the House floor yesterday, and if the Democrats blame us, calling it the Republican shutdown, why are they so angry that the government is reopening? So listen, it's behind us now. Let's have the debate. I'd love to debate. We've done great things in Florida to get health care under control. We need to bring those same principles, I think, of choice and competition, but we cannot continue with the debacle that's now Obamacare.
Yeah, on the other side, Florida Democratic Party Chair Nikki Fried called the deal a stopgap and warned that without extending Affordable Care Act subsidies, 4.7 million Floridians could lose their health care in 2026. So she said Republicans didn't negotiate in good faith. They manufactured this crisis, forced families to suffer, and now they want credit for putting out a fire they started. This is not leadership. It's cruel and chaotic. Fried added that Democrats will continue to fight for long-term solutions to protect families and restore access to health care. As the government reopens, the focus now turns to the upcoming deadline in late January and the need for lasting bipartisan agreements to prevent future shutdowns and health care crises.
We have Hamas-like organizations all over the world and countries like Xi Jinping's China that tortures, kills, co-ops Christians and other faiths, but they go after Christians with a special venom. And in Nigeria, where 90% of all the Christians who are murdered, it happens in that country. Boko Haram, the Fulani terrorists in the Middle Belt area. It's a situation where under the Biden administration, they claim that the mass slaughter of Christians and kidnappings and rape of women was attributable to global warming.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking of taxes, the tax on the economy and the detriment to the economy on the Democrats' shutdown over the past 6 weeks makes me delighted to be back here in Congress doing the work of Iowa and the American people. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to highlight a critical investment for Iowa families, the $2.78 million in community project funding I secured for the Newton YMCA child care expansion. This funding will allow the Y to open 50 new child care slots, giving working parents in Jasper County the reliability and support they urgently need. Access to child care is not just a family issue, it is a workforce issue. When parents can't find child care, they can't work, which hurts local businesses and the entire economy. The Newton YMCA is a pillar of its community, and this expansion will allow it to serve more families, strengthen the workforce, and keep Newton and Jasper County growing. I'm proud to have secured this funding and will continue fighting for projects that support families and build a stronger future for Iowa's 1st District and Iowa.
No survivor should have to tell their story over and over again, like many of the Epstein survivors have. They have been forced to do it under intense scrutiny from the public just to try to get the justice that the law owed them in the first place.